Anthony, do you know Dave?
Hey,
Hey, good to see you, Dave.
how are you
Yeah, I
doing?
can see Dave. How you doing, man?
Awesome, man. Awesome to have you here. Cool, guys. Okay. So I'm just going to do one more thing. I want to make sure we can see any comments that are coming up here inside the group. We are live in the group. Awesome to have you guys here with us. And part of what we're going to be doing here today is just kind of going through our training. Hey, if you guys see in the over in the Facebook group, if you guys see any comments coming up, would you let me know?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. That way I can just kind of focus on you guys. That way I can focus on you guys and not try and worry with the comments at the same time. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and kick off here today. Gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to the Making Peace with Porn Liberation Boot Camp 10-day porn abstinence accountability challenge. And we got a couple of the gentlemen, couple of the noble brothers here live on the call. So that's super cool. I thought I would kind of open it up to do it in this format instead of it being a one-way conversation. Have some of the guys who have been through the work, been through the community here inside the call, and have really experienced the results and the benefit of the work in their own life. So, if anybody is inside the group catching this, I put a link to the Zoom call here down below, so you can click on the link down below and jump in on the Zoom call and kind of join us from a more interactive standpoint. So awesome to have you guys here. Appreciate you gentlemen being here on the call today. Welcome.
Awesome, man.
So yeah, cool. So I wanted to just kind of kick things off today and give some framework for the conversation today. I'd like to go back through maybe some of the work that we've been doing inside the accountability abstinence challenge, and maybe get some feedback from you guys, insights learned, maybe obstacles that we ran into, and maybe what you found most valuable and useful inside the challenge. Just want to kind of extract the nuggets and the wisdom and figure out where we are and where we need to go from here. We got Anthony, who has actually been part of the Liberation Boot Camp on our last round. He joined us again for the next round coming up here starting on Saturday. We do still have a couple seats available for that. So if anybody is interested in jumping in on the Liberation Boot Camp and really taking the work that we have started in the accountability challenge and really integrating it in sort of like a longer term approach to really get the stuff dealt with and behind you for good in a group setting where you've got the accountability and the daily guidance to this work. We do have a couple seats available for that. If you're interested, uh, just tag me or shoot me a private message and we can schedule a time to set up a call and see if you're a fit for the program. Um, so I want to go through the work inside the challenge today and kind of extract maybe what wisdom you guys pulled out of the work. And what I also wanted to do was like really take a look at, all right, so we go through the work of the abstinence accountability challenge. We integrate some of the work. We look at some of these key points, such as, the pain and the pleasure, what needs we're attempting to meet, how to begin to meet those needs in a different way. We began to take a look at the internal stuff like conditions and triggers, and kind of all the different components that we took you through throughout the 10 days of work. So, some guys jump in, there's a lot of enthusiasm, and it's easy to kind of to jump in and commit to this smaller section of work if anybody here inside the challenge was able to fulfill the work. But it's like, what does it take to take this work and really extend it beyond the challenge and really make like a lasting like a long-term lasting um, success in this area? It's like it's easy to make a commitment. Maybe you have a slip up with porn and maybe you're doing good for a couple weeks, a couple days, even a couple months, which I did in my journey. But my question was always like in the back of my mind, like, how do I get this stuff behind me for good? And for me, it wasn't just like a one kind of one size fits all approach. It was a very much a multifaceted approach. It came from a lot of different angles. And that's what I want to kind of cover with you guys here today. This is the work that we go through in the Liberation Boot Camp, and kind of all these components are running simultaneously, but we break them up, and we go through them each week, and we kind of begin to integrate and implement all these different pieces. So Anthony, you've been through the work, and you'll recognize a lot of this stuff, but we call it the freedom framework. And again, it really comes down to like, what does it take to have like lasting success, and really get this stuff behind you for good. So that's what I'd love to do today, is kind of give you the formula or the framework for what that long-term success looks like. So that's where we're gonna go. So I want to start off today just by kind of kicking off and taking a look at, what were the major insights that you learned from the work thus far. And since we got a couple of the brothers here inside the group, you jumped in on the Zoom training. I'll just invite you gentlemen to share. Maybe we'll start with Dave and ask you, Dave, like you've been through the work. I know you're like probably 80 or more days porn free. I think at this point, that was just from going through the challenge and kind of sticking with the work that you did thus far. What are some of your biggest insights that you had through the work thus far, Dave?
Well, I think you have to be committed. I mean, when I signed up challenge 1, day 1, I made up my mind I was doing this no matter what, and nothing was going to change my mind. Yeah. So I think for the guys who sign up and then maybe fall by the wayside, it's like not a number one commitment. I mean, while you're doing it, for me, it has to be a number one commitment. I have to do that. And that's with anything. That's not just with this, as far as keeping me motivated, that's probably the camaraderie and the brotherhood and the idea that we're all doing this. And, porn can be such a dark thing that we keep secret and we only tell ourselves that, but when 10 or 15 or 20 or however many men signed up, and you realize they're all in the same boat or whatever that you are, it isn't a silent thing behind the door. It's behind many doors.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
you hit so much good stuff there. Yeah, camaraderie, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you hit so many good points there, and so many points of what you hit on are kind of different components of what we're going to hit on today with the freedom framework, or this like long-term lasting success principle. And it was like commitment. At the end of the day, I think the biggest component to this work is like commitment. Yeah. It's gotta be like, whenever we do the work inside the group with the men, I mean, like, I think your commitment has to be so clear and so just non-negotiable. I mean, that's what it's going to come down to, because at the end of the day, we're going to be weak, we're going to be tired, we're going to be emotional, we're going to feel vulnerable, we're going to be triggered, we're going to have this tendency to kind of revert back to our old habits and behaviors, because like that's what makes us feel secure. That's what we want to go back to. It's like any old habit or behavior. So at the end of the day, it needs to be this crystal clear, decisive decision and commitment. I've heard it put a couple different ways. One was and it could be like, we can learn to exercise like this easier, like this decision-making ability. It can be as easy as just like, I'm a non-smoker. You guys are both non-smokers, correct? Either of you guys cigarette smokers?
No.
Okay.
No,
Right.
no,
So
no.
if someone asked you guys, do you want a cigarette? Like, that's a pretty easy answer, isn't it?
100%.
Sure.
You don't like struggle with it. You know what I mean? And I think that's the kind of like reflex or response we want to develop around porn. It's like, we don't wrestle with it. When we wrestle with it, when we contemplate it, when we play around with it emotionally, mentally, spiritually, that's when it kind of begins to like take root, or to take seed. So our decision around that needs to be as clear as a non-smoker would say no to a cigarette. We just don't contemplate it. We don't play with it, because it's like another idea that we utilize inside the Liberation Boot Camp is like this idea of like the guardian at the gate, being extra vigilant and always watchful. It's like, we don't want to allow like one thought or one impulse to magnify and to become something bigger. So our decision making around it needs to be really clear and effective and just decisive. So that's really powerful. And the second one is like our commitment around this needs to be as powerful as if you were a parent, right? And you had this like life or death scenario with your children. Like if I had to acquire this certain medication for my children, would I not do everything in my power, like life or death to obtain this medication? And I think, so that's like clarity, that's like commitment. And I think we can learn to have such a powerful level of commitment around a relationship with other things, such as like porn. So it can be like, in this scenario, if I was a parent and I knew if I went back to porn, it would like adversely affect my child's health in some way, right? We would be really clear and really committed to to not utilizing porn. Our why would be so powerful that that decision would then be easy. It would just be a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So we need to kind of cultivate that kind of that level of commitment and decision making around porn. The reason, like, I think going back to porn is so easy is because like the immediate consequence doesn't seem that significant. I mean, after we're done, we know like all the shame and the guilt, and we were kind of flooded with all the reasons we shouldn't have done that, and like, what did I do that again for? But the immediate ramifications are not that serious. No one really knows. It's kind of your own little private thing. Your secret behind your screen on the computer, on the internet, in your room, and there's not a whole lot of consequence except for like the emotional and spiritual turmoil we deal with. But we need to kind of really kind of frame this up like there is a larger consequence and get really clear on our commitment. So excellent, Dave. And you also mentioned the camaraderie. That's another big component we're going to hit on in the freedom framework. It's like that group energy. I mean, and Anthony, you just got done going through the last round of the Liberation Boot Camp with us. Can you speak at all to the kind of camaraderie or the energy of the group to kind of hold you and carry you through this work?
Yeah, man, it's actually pretty insane because I wasn't expecting that level of camaraderie. Like, there's this time I went missing for a day or two, do the work or whatever the case may have been. But when I came back to my computer, I had Facebook messages from the guys in the group, like, pretty much at least one message from each guy
Yeah.
outside of the group. So they kind of reached me on a more personal level. I was like, dude, that's badass, dude, and
Yeah.
it makes you appreciate them because everybody's in it together. You don't feel this. You don't feel like you're out of the group. If you go missing, they'll pull you right back into the group right away. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? They don't let you get the best of you,
Yeah.
and that really helped a ton.
Powerful. Yeah, I mean, that's like, it's like the magnetism, or the gravity of that group. It just kind of pulls you in and keeps you connected to the process and keeps you moving forward. Also, when you fall off the path, one of our principles is if I fall from the path, I vow to return. So I feel like that group camaraderie, that brotherhood, really kind of just continues to pull you back on the path and keep you accountable. And the third thing you mentioned there, Dave, was simply that it was accountability. We have a really powerful accountability infrastructure in place within the Liberation Boot Camp. It's like reporting weekly results. You have like the weekly accountability tracker we utilize. We have weekly accountability videos. We've got daily Voxer check-ins. So all these kind of components keep you really connected. And those weekly commitment videos, I think, is really powerful because you show up at the beginning of the week, you say, here's my commitment for the week. And then you're kind of held accountable all week long to really kind of carry you through that process. So those are some great insights, Dave. Thank you for sharing. Anthony, is there anything else that you'd like to share in terms of maybe like what you found valuable or helpful, just kind of going through the first part or the accountability challenge phase?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'll say this because I was thinking about this as Dave was talking. When I first like this should have been obvious. When I first kind of signed up to do the liberation, I was in my head I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, I can do the no masturbation thing. I didn't really think about it being like you literally can't watch it. Like you can't really see, you can't look at it on the computer. And so in my head I was like, yeah, maybe I'll see it, but I won't finish off to it.
Right.
And this is me kind of getting my own way.
Of course.
And so once we got on that call for the liberation thing, and it really kind of dawned on me, I was like, oh man, I really can't watch it anymore. I was like, shit, I get really scary and really real.
Yeah.
So because my money was already put down already, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be really hard. I feel like now I'm playing on times 10.
Yeah.
And so going through that, like the first week was really rough, man, and I didn't think there was going to be a point where I can actually find balance in it and actually make it work. And as we slowly went through it, dude, I started to notice just the urges. They would get really high because you're feeling more of your emotions when you're not watching porn and masturbating. And then at some point, it just slowly starts to go down, and those urges just start to be like less and less over time.
Yeah.
And so it was just really fascinating to see because you get in your own head, and you're like, I can't do it, I can't do this, I can't do that,
Yeah.
until you're actually doing it, and it's just like, oh, okay, I just have to pay attention. I just have
Yeah.
to be present with the work.
Yeah. Love it, bro. Yeah. Yeah, so that paying attention, doing the work, and I think what I'm hearing you speak to there is like some of the awareness portion of the work through, I think, the meditation and the journaling, just becoming more aware of the thoughts and the emotions as they come up, and recognize we don't have to run with every one. Like, not we don't have to engage with every feeling that comes up, with every impulse, with every urge. We also have the choice. Like, that's part of the curriculum that we go through with the breaking the cycle work. It's like, I always have a choice. I have a choice to sit with this feeling and just watch that impulse. And it's just like anything else. Like I said, I like to utilize the impulse around cigarettes because I used to be a smoker. It's like the same way when I was like, um, shifting my habits and my behaviors around cigarettes and beginning to omit those from my life. I would notice that the impulse would arise, but if I would just kind of shift my behavior, acknowledge it, and then just kind of shift away, a minute later, that impulse just kind of subsided. We could do the same thing with the porn, and that's kind of part of the work that we do in the boot camp is cultivating mindfulness through our meditation practice, and learning just to watch as that impulse arises, recognizing that we don't have to respond to it, or we don't have to react to it, but we can just respond in a different way. So super powerful, man. I appreciate that share.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. What were maybe some of the bigger maybe challenges or obstacles that you ran into through the work, or maybe you're still kind of recognizing in your own journey are important to be mindful of? Dave, do you have anything you'd like to share there?
To be mindful of.
Yeah.
Well, I know I have to watch myself, because the stimuli are all around you.
Right.
I mean, you can go to the grocery store and think you're only picking up milk and eggs, but you see the cute girl with the short on, or I'll give an example. Tonight's the first night for Dancing with the Stars. Well, if you ever want a porn laden 2 hours, watch that.
Right.
That kind of thing. I'm not watching it because I used to watch it, and when it was over, it was like, wow.
Yeah.
I just think I watched a porn show.
Yeah.
And I religiously, and I want to give a shout out to him. Tim B got me on this, but because we would talk back and forth about doing the core 4 and let each other know when we did that.
Yeah.
So like that's become, we don't do that so much right now, but that's become like a really big thing. When I get up in the morning, I have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned that if I don't do it all at once, it's not as effective as if I do, okay, I'll do the meditation while I'm laying here in bed, and then I'll do the journaling maybe 2 hours later, and then I'll do the run like in the afternoon when I have time. That's not as effective as doing it all at once early in the morning for me, because it makes the day.
Yeah.
For me.
Absolutely. Yeah, super powerful. I found the same. Got to put it all together, and it's like we're kind of activating, I think, and addressing mind, body, and spirit before we enter into the world. Kind of supercharging those things. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. How about yourself, Anthony? Maybe anything you ran into in terms of challenges throughout, the challenge phase of the work, or anything that you find is still important for you to be kind of mindful of as you continue on in your journey?
Yeah, we ran into this a couple of times during the boot camp, man. You'd always ask me, if I had a slip, what was that feeling? What was what created it? And sometimes I couldn't draw it back. I was just like, I don't know what it was. It was just an intense emotion. And sometimes you don't even realize that it could have been something from the day before that you didn't even resolve, and it's kind of been lingering. And so, not knowing that things can linger like that, you could easily get caught in that trap.
Yeah.
And so what I've been doing more lately is like, if I feel the urge, I'm just like, okay, where's this coming from? Because I woke up this morning, I feel great, did my meditation, so I'm still going in the background. I say, oh yeah, okay, that thing happened at work with a client. Okay.
Right.
So now I can sit and fill out those emotions, and all of a sudden, once I release it, it's just like, okay, cool. I don't have an urge for it anymore all of a sudden.
Yeah. Yeah. super powerful. I think, yeah, mindfulness, awareness around that, noticing where it's coming from. Yeah, because I think in the earlier days of our habit, of our behavior, that we would be totally unaware of maybe where the impulses are coming from or what's kind of triggering us. And then before you know it, it's like an unconscious thing where we're in front of the computer again, you know. So I'm just being really mindful of that and catching it at the earlier phase, you know, catching it like up front, you know what I mean? And by like kind of, uh-oh, you know, you kind of notice that you're triggered. And because for me, it was always like, once that, I just call it like the venom, once the venom or once the drug or whenever that, once that poison hits your bloodstream, it's almost like a downhill fight, you know. So you got to be really vigilant about catching it way, you know, way early, you know, and not tolerating it for too long. So beautiful, man. I appreciate it. I feel like we've hit on a lot of these points, kind of, um, already here in the work. So I just want to kind of continue to touch on some of these things as we dig in on the freedom framework training that we're gonna dig into here for today. So excellent shares, guys. I really appreciate that. I'm gonna go ahead and do this real quick. I'll see if I can do a screen share. I believe I can. I did a really simple, just like a Google Doc of the freedom framework. Boom. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so these are the, I think it's 9 components that we that we teach. That's kind of part of the Making Peace philosophy. And as we move through the program, we touch this, you know, very regularly. This is something that for the guys that continue to be involved in the work, that stay in the work. Again, this is not a sprint. This is a marathon. This is a long-term journey. You know, we've got several guys who are going back through the Liberation Boot Camp now for the 2nd time. We got one of our brothers who's been through 3 times. So this is like an ongoing work, an ongoing practice. I think it's like a skill set, a new way of being. It's like new muscles we're learning to flex, a new operating system that we're installing. So it's not just, you know, a one quick, one size fits all kind of silver bullet approach. It's a multifaceted approach, and it's an approach that I think all the components are relevant at all times, you know, even though we kind of focus on different areas at different times, they're all always operating. So these are the 9 components. These pieces started off as maybe like 5 things. I think when I began kind of doing this work, I had kind of keyed in on like 5 pieces that I felt were most relevant in finding my way in my own journey. And as we continue to do the work, and I'm kind of seeing the guys go through the work and seeing the different kind of pieces come together, I'm kind of noticing that there are even more components to this work. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to kind of hit on these 9 or so components to like the long-term lasting piece. And I think as we get down here toward the end, you'll see kind of how the components really set you up for like lasting success through the work. And Dave, I mentioned to you in some of your shares, I think you hit on a couple of these really nicely already, and Anthony as well. So starting off with commitment, and we already talked about commitment today. I mean, in the 10-day abstinence accountability challenge, we start off with commitment. Whenever we do the Liberation Boot Camp, we start off with the commitment, and then we do weekly commitments. Every single week, the guys come into the community and do accountability videos. You know, some of the guys that maybe fall off the horse throughout the program, we have them go to daily commitment videos. All right, it's like, well, maybe I don't feel like I can commit for a whole week. You know what I mean? Maybe that feels like too much. Maybe I can, but I know I can commit to 24 hours. So we just break it down and we just support the guys and just kind of building these muscles, you know, day by day. You know, it's like, all right, it's like a day at a time. It's like those like Al-Anon guys. You know, it's like one day at a time. I'm going to conquer today. I'm not going to worry about trying to kill the next 365. It's just day at a time. So we start with this powerful level of commitment. And again, at the end of the day, all these other things might fail, but at the end of the day, it's our level of a commitment that holds us. And within the framework of the Liberation Boot Camp and the Making Peace community, also when we were doing the 5 a.m. club, you know, we started off with commitment. But whenever we come into the community and we make these powerful public declarations, and we've got all the eyes of the brotherhood kind of watching us, it just serves as a very powerful motivator for us to show up. We come in there, we're in this setting, and we make this declaration, and now it's like, all right, well, am I going to honor my word first of all? And even if we don't feel like honoring our word, it's like, well, we got people that are watching us. You know what I mean? So like that level of expectation, I think, serves to support us throughout the work. So commitment, and the second piece, Dave, you hit on that, is accountability. We talked about the accountability infrastructure that we have. It's like commitment is one thing, but a great quote that I heard, and when we used it in the first round of the accountability challenge, is like, accountability is the glue that ties the commitment to the result. It's like, it's easy to make commitments to ourselves, and say, all right, I'm going on a diet this week. There's been 100 times I said, all right, I'm starting on Monday, you know what I mean? And then Wednesday I'm crashing already again, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's one thing to make a commitment, but within the community, we provide infrastructure for accountability. And it's that accountability that really carries, I think, that commitment the distance. Even for me, like, I'm always really transparent in my journey, you know what I mean? Like, even as far as I've come, I still have moments where I feel tempted, you know what I mean? Like this weekend, it's like, 12 a.m. or 1 a.m. I'm up late, I'm doing work, I'm sitting in front of my computer, I'm eating some junk food. I had a free day on Saturday, and you know what I mean? It's like late, I'm tired, I'm moody, I'm scanning through Facebook and YouTube, and you know what I mean? Like starting to feel really tempted, you know what I mean? So for me, if it weren't for my level of commitment, and if it weren't for my level of accountability that I have through this work, you know what I mean? Like this work for me serves as a very powerful motivator for me to stay in integrity in my own personal journey. Like, who knows where I would be, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's these two crucial pieces that really help us, I think, go the distance, tied into to number 8 there is community, you know what I mean? And for me, Anthony, like you were saying, it's like, all right, what is the bare minimum can I get away with? Can I like watch some twerking videos or something like that? Like, just give me something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, that goes back to guardians at the gates. Like, I'm not even going to go there because I know where that leads, you know what I mean? So our level of personal integrity has to be super, super solid, because at the end of the day, no one sees what you're up to, just you. So that's got to be super high. But we all, I think, these temptations, we're men, so these temptations are always going to pop back in, especially when the guard is down. But at the end of the day, it comes down to commitment and accountability. So that's really it. Any additional thoughts or ideas on that stuff, guys?
Yeah, dude.
I agree. The accountability was a big thing for me. That's probably one of the things that kept me on track.
Yeah. Absolutely. If you've got, if it comes down to your level of personal integrity, integrity, 100%, dude. Thank you. I just want to pop in over here in the abstinence group and see if we've got anybody jumping in on any comments or anything like that. Okay, nobody with any comments at this point. Awesome. So we're going to move forward. You guys can probably see the screen. Boom. All right. So, cuckoo. So the accountability, commitment, and awareness. Commitment and accountability. So number 3 is awareness. Now, Anthony hit on this as well. Again, these are all components to kind of like, what is the framework? What is the skill sets we need to develop in this work? Number 3 we have there is awareness. And we introduced this phase or this component of awareness super early in the work. And we introduced it through really bite-sized pieces with the daily core 4, through daily journaling and daily meditation practices. And it is through this work that we begin to kind of shine the light into around our relationship with porn. And we begin to say, all right, like, where are these thoughts coming from? Where are the impulses coming from? We begin to like learn to recognize them. And it's like, maybe in the earlier days around our relationship, like the thought would hit, the impulse would hit, the emotion would hit. And before we know, we're back in front of the computer again, it's like, what happened? But through these levels of awareness, we can begin to recognize the thoughts and impulses as they arise. We can cultivate the ability to not respond to them. We can respond respond in a different way. Um, and we can also learn to kind of like just kind of bring maybe what's kind of deep in the back of the subconscious to the forefront of the consciousness by taking a look at it. So we have like a daily journaling practice along with our daily meditation practice to kind of begin to shed some light as to what's going on in there, having a dialogue with ourselves and bringing this stuff into greater levels of awareness. But if we don't cultivate the awareness, we're kind of acting very much unconsciously, and we kind of acting almost like a victim to our thoughts and feelings. So that awareness piece or component is super crucial to the journey. Anthony, anything you want to speak to in terms of the awareness piece around meditation and the journaling work?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, the journaling work, man. And I'll say this because this has a lot to do with journaling work. One of the exercises that we did, which is speaking to your subpersonalities, which is your unconscious, the urge that you have in there, this part of you that kind of overrides your system, even though you don't want to watch porn. There's a part of you in there that's still like, yes, we're gonna watch it. Yes, we're gonna watch it. We're about to
Yeah, of
watch it.
course. Yeah.
You know, and so getting in contact with that guy. So there's a journaling exercise that we do in there that gets you in contact with that particular subconscious person or pattern. And so in doing that, man, I started to see a lot of what was going on, because it's like you can talk to him, and he's got his own feelings and emotions about things, and not to sound crazy, like he literally does. Like you ask him why do you want to watch porn right now? What's going on? And then you'll get your body will respond. Your body will respond with an emotion, and
Yeah.
so you're having this conversation with your emotional body, and once you kind of acknowledge that stuff and get to the root of what's going on, you start to realize what's really driving behavior. Maybe there's some pain in there, some emotional hurt, there's some sadness in there that you don't want to face or confront, some fear in there. And that was huge for me, man, being able to journal that stuff down and get it all on paper. Because once you get to the bottom of it, by doing these exercises that we do in there, it's like, oh, okay, damn, that's crazy. You know what I mean? And then, but it also releases the urge to want to watch it again. It's just another way to get around the urge.
Yeah, absolutely. It's cathartic in a sense. Are you familiar with that term? Cathartic?
No, no, no,
Like
no.
provides an outlet. When we do art or we play music or something like that, it kind of like provides for an outlet, I think.
Yeah, dude, 100%. And I still do it. Dude. I do it all the time. Like if I can't write it down, I'll be in my car thinking it in my head. I was like, okay, cool. All right. If it persists, I gotta get home and write it down right away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I can talk to have a dialogue, and
Yeah.
it'll totally just fizzle out.
I think it provides clarity. It gives it a place to go, and it allows us to kind of look at it.
Yeah.
And it takes the power away from it. Any thoughts on that, David?
Yeah, I think awareness. I do think awareness is a big thing. I mean, I never thought. I don't know when the first 10-day accountability challenge was. That at the end of June?
It was like July. Yeah.
Okay, something like that. Yeah, I was aware of it like the end of June. I never thought in a million years I would be talking to a bunch of friends that I didn't even know about this stuff. So awareness was a big thing for me. I think also journaling for me, I mean, you can think the word porn in your head, or masturbation, or any of those words, but actually writing it and seeing that you wrote that on paper
Yeah.
makes it different than thinking it in your head. You know what I mean?
It's like it brings it to life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I agree with, because I go back and read what I journaled maybe day one of challenge one. And if I reread that, because I kept all that, if I reread that, I mean, I take it in, but I didn't write anything like that on day one of challenge two. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, the growth from day one, challenge one, to day one, challenge two, for me, and to see that was a big thing. And
Absolutely.
then I would, in my mind, I'd think, well, if I went too far, I'm not stopping now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it, man. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's cool. It's like so what you're recognizing from day one, challenge one, to day one, challenge two, you may be noticing maybe your growth or how much you've evolved since between the two.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it, brother. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the next phase. The next phase here is energy, the energy piece. And, that really comes down to like cultivating and managing energy on a daily basis, and managing our power, our emotional state, our mood, and our emotions on a daily basis. That's like that's a big piece of it there. I think it's learning to become more aware of our energy levels, but also being intentional about like improving, maintaining, increasing our energy levels on a daily basis. And I think this directly ties into the daily core 4 work. I know for me, like in my work, if I wake up in the morning and I miss my core 4 and I get straight into my day, it's like a world of difference between doing that and getting up in the morning and hitting my core 4 hard and like getting a good sweat in, meditating, do my reading and my journaling, connecting spiritually. It's like a night and day. It's like on one day I'm like, life sucks, what's the point? And the other day it's like life's great and I'm getting it, I'm killing it. Major difference. And like the implication for me is when I'm feeling great, I show up better, and like I feel better about myself, I feel better about life is worth living. And I want to make decisions that serve me, not to, like when I'm feeling low, all I want to do is call it quits for the rest of the day, go home and get some pizza, and you know what I mean, do nothing all night. When I'm feeling good, I'm like, no, I want to carry this on. I want to keep like making positive, good decisions, good behavior. And I'm also mentally and spiritually equipped to make better decisions. You know what I mean? It's like whenever our energy is low, it's like our guard is low, and we typically, tend to make habits that don't really serve us. We're in those more kind of weaker, kind of like survival lever behaviors and habits. So that's kind of like the idea around the energy piece, is like really being intentional about managing, maintaining, increasing, elevating energy around, our energy, our mood, and our emotional state. Thoughts there, gentlemen?
Yeah.
I have a question,
Yeah.
because I know you've done a lot of study with all of this. Do you think men go through a monthly cycle like women? Not the same thing, but I know there's some times in the month when I think I'm not doing that,
Yeah.
or I don't have the energy. I don't want to do that.
Hmm.
And then there's other times, like today was a wild day, and I think a little bit of that had to do with the weather. It was such a nice day in Pennsylvania. It was like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you go out and make it your best day yet?
Yeah.
You know, do you think there is a thing to that, or
I think that, to me, I don't really know, like biologically, who knows what kind of studies have been done in terms of like biologically what may be able to be tracked or monitored in terms of cycles. But I know for me, there's these rhythms in life, and it's like
yeah,
we kind of go through
yeah,
these rhythms of ups and downs.
yeah,
And for me, the key during those phases is, again, to do all this stuff, to be aware, to do at least my best in terms of being proactive and managing my energy, and kind of doing my best to keep my emotions between the lines, and keep my baseline habits kind of between the lines, so to speak,
yeah.
Yeah, because there are
'Cause
definitely these waves. Yeah.
I know, like, it's coming up to the time when we'll turn the clocks back, so everything gets darker early.
Yeah. Hmm.
That's like a moody thing for me for a
Yeah.
while till I really get into that,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So that was just a thought.
I
I've
agree.
thought about that.
I agree. Yeah, brother. Anything on that, Anthony?
Yeah, man. I mean, because the whole reason I joined this group anyway was for the main thing. The number one thing was because my energy levels, man. I was used to being very apathetic in life in general, just
Yeah.
depleted all the time.
Mhm.
Especially because I would spend hours on end and laying in this bed, masturbating and watching porn for
Right.
doing deep
Yeah,
dives, right? Where
Yeah,
you
it'll
can
keep you stuck there forever.
do,
yeah,
right? You look up and you spend 2 hours just
Yeah,
browsing,
for
no
sure.
reason.
Yeah.
So I
Time
need
warp.
that. Yeah, right. So it was becoming all pervasive in my life, dude. My energy was it was shit, man. And
Yeah.
I get home, I want to throw down an In-N-Out burger, come in here and just go to sleep.
Yeah.
So I knew there was something to that energy actually having, because I had good days where I was like, yeah, this energy is good. I don't know why, most of the time I'm not having this energy. So again, that was the reason I came in. So obviously taking the liberation group, I spent a lot more time in that high energetic place. And like you're saying, it's like when you're in that place, man, it kind of recirculates that energy. You have good energy, you make good decisions. The good decisions give you more energy. You start eating better, and you start to feel better, and then you make more positive
Yes.
choices.
Hmm.
It's very reciprocating, man. And
Yeah.
being in that cycle is much better than being in the shame cycle, where you're
Yeah.
just you down there, you're shaming yourself, you put yourself down even more. Now you need to watch porn to get out of that
Yeah.
shame cycle because you're feeling so crappy. You know what I mean? It's essentially the polar opposite of it.
Yeah.
So learning how to really be in that space more, man. I got that from the liberation group, and I was just like, yo, man, this is something I never want to be without anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially once you wake up to the fact that you have influence over it. You know what I mean? You're not just a victim stuck in this loop because,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, those can go either way. You can go up or you can go down with it. Up takes more work, but it is exponentially more rewarding,
Yeah.
um but
Sure.
but but at the same way, like going the other way, that has its own negative, result as well. It's like I heard it put really really beautifully one time, and it's something I hold on to. It goes like this. It goes, um when we live life the easy way, life is hard. When we live life the hard way, life is easy. And like when I heard that and I kind of thought about what that meant, it blew my mind. It means like when we live life the easy way, meaning we lay on the couch, we go to the porn, we eat the Doritos, we don't exercise, we take the easy route. You know what I mean? Life is literally harder. It's like we're fighting this uphill battle, and life is more painful and more emotional, and we're kind of stuck in this brain fog and we can't seem to get traction on anything. So when we live life the easy way, life is hard. It really is. But when we live life the hard way, meaning we get up early, we do our core four, we do the work, we make the harder decisions, we take the higher road, life just becomes so much easier and so much like better and so much more rewarding. And we feel better about ourselves. And it's got, again, this perpetuating, self-perpetuating thing. So that was always a powerful principle that really stuck with me. And I'm like, that's true. That works for me. You know what I mean?
Yep.
100%. Love how you say that, dude, because that's literally what one of my mentors I got that I work for. That's exactly what he says, right?
Yeah.
If you're doing bare minimum, and then your life is essentially you're avoiding all the tension that it takes to live a great life, right? And you can't have a
Mm-hmm.
great life unless you're willing to step into some uncomfortable places. If you want
100%.
to be comfortable your whole life, yeah, it's going to be very comfortable for a very long time, but you're always going to be not reaching your potential, not even close to it.
Yeah. Yeah. You're always just gonna be fighting, man. Yeah. 100%.
Crazy.
If you're willing to accept the bare minimum, that's all you get.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. Yeah. Life
100%.
has a way of yeah, providing this feedback, right?
Yes.
Yep. 100%. Cool. So we're going to move on. We'll move on to expansion here. So expansion is really this idea of daily growth, intentional growth, like intentionally being a better man today than I was yesterday. It really ties into the energy work through the daily core four. The daily core four is like our way of making this statement or this declaration of, I'm going to get up and I'm going to improve upon myself, today better than I was yesterday. I'm going to read this book. I'm going to do this work. I'm going to grow today. I'm going to push a little bit harder. So this idea of expansion for me is like really ties into this idea of, people that come into this work. I think this work resonates mostly with a particular kind of person. People come into this work to deal and tackle like the porn situation, which we absolutely do. Like that's the focus. But like running in the background behind all of that, we're like a personal and spiritual development group. You know what I mean? It's like evolve the man, you know what I mean? Help the man grow, evolve the man, and then the habits that no longer serve us more easily fall by the wayside. I found this in my relationship with food. I found this again in my relationship with cigarettes, and the same thing around my relationship with porn. It was like as I was intentional about my growth mentally, spiritually, physically every single day, and I began to kind of recognize what it feels like to feel good. My tolerance for the things that did not serve me, decreased, and my standard for living and the way I wanted to feel and my standard for being increased. You know what I mean? So it's like if we are intentional every single day about being better than the man we were yesterday, it's like the things that don't serve us just kind of, it doesn't have to be so hard. We just kind of more easily make choices that are in alignment with us and the life we want to live.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's this intentional, and that ties right into the noble code. It's like, just this intentional of like expansion daily. Like that's what we're here to do. And I come from one personal development camp that says that people are always looking for, what is my purpose? What are my purpose? And I think a really beautiful idea around purposes. Our purpose is we are here to grow. You know what I mean? We are here to grow. We are here to expand. When we are intentional about our growth and we're intentional about our expansion, that's when life is the best. You know what I mean? And as long as we grew from yesterday to today, you know, we're here doing what we're supposed to be doing, you know, like life, you know, growth is life, you know what I mean? And to me, stagnancy is death, you know, and that is my experience, you know, and I found that to be very relevant. And that's why we place great emphasis on that inside the community. So.
Yeah. Hey, so I want to let you know, just so I don't cut off here. About 5 minutes, gotta go, got a client call.
Okay.
Just want to put that out there.
Yeah, appreciate it, brother. Whenever you got to go, just sign off, man. It's been really good having you here, and we're just going to continue on with the conversation today, man. So awesome, and I'm going to look forward to seeing you in the next couple of days, my brother.
Dude, 100% the same.
See you,
Yeah.
Anthony.
Hey, man, I'll see you in a bit, dude.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So we're going to go ahead and move on to skills now. So the skills part of the work, and again, and this expansion and energy piece is why we have in the really bite size over in the challenge work is like just take a walk every single day. You know what I mean? Just kind of beginning to take really bite size steps towards what can I do to improve upon my energy, my mood, my emotions today, and just maybe grow a little bit today. You know, so we guys kind of put a really bite size piece in there. Can you fit a 15-minute walk into your day? Yeah, no matter how busy you are, you can do that. So that's why we fit that piece in there. So the next piece is the skills. And Anthony, I'm really glad that you're still here. Whenever you got to go, I respect that. But I'm going to ask you to speak on this idea around skills. Like we have these tools inside the group. One of them is we call the 4-rack formula, which is kind of like our process for running through our why. What needs am I trying to meet by going to porn? How can I meet those needs in a healthier way? And like a new choice. We got like the beard test we use inside the Liberation Bootcamp. My favorite, and the one we introduce and give you guys right up front, is the 2x2 rule, learning to shift and train our attention to look away and not look twice. Just kind of taking a more noble perspective and you know, lens through which to look at the world. And it's like really these skills that help us kind of go out into the world now. And how do I begin to train myself to operate differently? And what are the skills that kind of help me deal with this compulsion or with this behavior on a day-to-day basis? Again, the 2x2 rule is a powerful one we use inside the group. Anything you want to speak on in terms of like the 2x2 rule, Anthony?
Yeah, dude, I'll say this because what I do is essentially dating coaching. I teach guys how to be confident and meet women. And so in our workshops, we usually go out and we, we take guys where there's a lot of people at, it increases the chance to meet a woman. And so generally I do a lot of looking. I do a lot of head turning 3-4 times, 5 times sometimes. And I really wasn't realizing before this how much energy or how much pretty much energy that you're giving away by doing that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because when you gave me the 2x2 and it was like, okay, you can only look twice for 2 seconds. I didn't realize how hard it was to not look that third or fourth time. And I was like, okay, this is a problem, dude.
Yeah.
I can't not look for that many times. Something's really going on there.
Right.
And so what it really kind of dawned on me was that, yeah, you're trying to use this information that you're taking in visually. It's fantasize about it. And that fantasy starts and that creates
Yes.
the urge. You want to go home and watch.
Yeah. And then we just tumble down this rabbit hole, right? And for me, it always felt like very much like I don't want to be just a victim, a slave to my circumstances, to my environment all the time. You know what I mean? Getting lost in these patterns of fantasy and oogling. You know what I mean? So the 2x2 rule is a really cool, it's a very simple rule. We'll share it with you here. It's like whenever we begin the program, we've got to learn to begin to train our attention. And that says, we know we're men, we know we're going to notice a beautiful woman, we're going to recognize that. But our principle that we're working on to develop, it's not going to be perfect right away, is I don't look for more than 2 seconds. So if we notice, that's cool. But we don't spend time getting lost in fantasy around it. And number 2, I don't look twice. So we got to begin to train our attention not to continue to look and gawk and then kind of go down that road. Like you said, Anthony, just a ton of energy. And we want to really begin to train ourselves to live and to operate with a higher degree of integrity, with a higher degree of nobility. We also have an exercise called the noble lens that we do toward the end of the program, where we begin to like exercise, like seeing the world and seeing these women through like a new lens. So yeah, thank you for your share on that, Anthony.
Of course.
Cool. The next piece, gentlemen, is vision. And whenever we began, I'm always like wondering, like, all right, where's the best place to put the vision conversation in? Because I feel like vision could go right up front. We talk about in the challenge work, we began taking a look at the pain associated with our relationship with porn. And we kind of begin to identify, all right, what are we moving away from? We did that on day 2. The next piece of it is like, now what am I moving toward? What is this compelling vision for myself, for my life, for a future that inspires me and energizes me away from this old version of myself to this new version of like, where am I headed? Where am I going? And what's going to inspire me to like make the change? Um, so, some of the exercises we do in the Liberation Boot Camp, we start off with we have this exercise called Play Like a Little Kid. It's just beginning to like, all right, like tapping into imagination. If I had $10 million in the bank and I didn't have to like go work for somebody else for the rest of my life, like what would I love to be doing with myself? Like where would I love to spend my time? Where would I love to live? What would my ideal relationship look like? And we begin to kind of paint this picture for a more compelling vision, a more compelling future. And the idea is that we begin to like really connect and resonate with that vision. And that vision then inspires us and holds us to like want to be like, all right, I'm going to get up tomorrow and I'm going to do a little better. I'm going to make this new choice because I don't want to be the old guy anymore. I want to align with this new vision, this new version of my life for myself and for my way of being. So a big part of the work that we do, and a crucial part for me, is in the work is like, all right, we know what we don't want. What do we want? And like, where are we headed now?
That's huge, man. I want to speak about that because I gotta get off, but I was actually waiting for this question.
Beautiful.
Because this has been one of those recurring ones. What I'm realizing every day that I get an urge or something comes up, or I feel like I'm being pulled in that direction. I'll start to remember what you said, which is just like, where do you want to be? Where do you actually want to go?
Yeah.
So when I start to think about writing it down, I get really excited about it. So I get my little pad right here, and I just start going to town. It's like, okay, cool. I wake up in the morning, I'm in this beautiful house, this and this, but in my body, it starts to just light up.
Yes.
And I start to enjoy it. So you can feel yourself being pulled to wanting to do that more than actually watching the porn.
Yeah.
And by the time you finish done writing that, you're just like, I don't even want to.
I
just want to go do this.
100%. I love that, dude. And that's what we kind of. We don't get all esoterical in the work, even though that's like I'm all about this stuff. But like for me, like that vision work, that's like law of attraction work. When we start to look at, you can call it whatever you want. It's like when we start to like visualize that which we want, and we start to create feelings around it. It's like we're literally like beginning to shift who we are, and we're beginning to call those new circumstances in. You know what I mean? And so like feeling like it's already done is a big part of the process. I think to calling those circumstances in, calling that relationship in, calling those opportunities in, calling those ideas in. So a big part of the vision I always found is like either one, people don't have a vision at all, or they're so stuck in their shame cycle that they might have a vision, but they don't believe it's even possible. Yeah. So we want to like help bring back to life, to reawaken a vision of like something that inspires you and says, you know what, I do want to make this change. And I'm not going back to that old behavior anymore because I want something else,
Yeah, 100%, dude.
That's a great share, Anthony. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, I know, man. I got to get out of here, guys. That was awesome, dude.
Thank you so much for being here, man. Thank you.
I'll see you guys.
Yeah, see you soon, brother. Noble man. Cool. So we're going to go ahead and continue on. And I think this will be a great point to move on to. So David, you mentioned at the beginning of the call, we were talking about commitment and accountability. The next piece of the freedom framework is community. And again, these are all the pieces and all the components. Like, what do we really, what's the recipe for a long-term success with this? Because it's not just a one, it's not just a one component thing. It's a multiple kind of facet approach. So like community. David, I know you found this through the main Making Peace with Porn group, and then the Abstinence Accountability Challenge is the community and the brotherhood that hold you up and supports you. I know Anthony could speak to this as well. As like, it's one thing to make that commitment, the group and the framework of the accountability, but then the community that holds you up, that supports you. David, I believe, used the word brotherhood and camaraderie that not only supports you in your journey and helps to hold you accountable, but also whenever you fall or whenever you fail, helps you get back on the horse and supports you in the work and in the process.
Yeah. And I think that the non-judgment, like, you know, I mean, brother, some of the brothers of I have messaged each other. Like Aaron and I are pretty good friends, and John and I are we message each other like a good bit, not daily, but almost.
Yeah.
And you know, if one of them says something about I'm not doing this, or neither of them have ever said I failed, or you know, I watched porn last night or anything like that. But I like the non-judgmental thing of it.
Yeah.
You know, like, okay, so that happened, move on, you know, recognize what happened and move on. That, I think that's a big thing that makes the community stronger. You know, when we were teenage boys, or even when we were back watching porn and all that stuff, if we'd have told maybe not our best male friend that we watched porn, because he probably did it too.
Yeah.
But if we would tell somebody in our community, whether that's the church community or whatever, hey, I watched some porn last night, the judgment would be right there.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, I think the non-judgmental part of this group makes it more comfortable for people to do the work, you know, than to be judged all the time.
Exactly.
I taught third grade for 34 years. And one of the things I made up my mind I wasn't going to do the first day I walked in there is I wasn't going to judge any kid from where they came from, what they did, or who they were.
Yeah.
You know, and if you had, because you know, you probably were too. We were raised where if you were the good student, you got the A's. If you were the bad student, you were put in the back corner of the room to hopefully be quiet the rest of the day.
Yeah.
That's how we were raised. And I wasn't going to do a judgmental classroom.
Yeah.
You know, so this non-judgmental group here, I think, is one of its strong suits.
Yeah. Beautiful, man. I love that too. Yeah. And like you said, it just makes it easy to return and to come back. And we take away, this is a part of the noble code as well, but it's not about being perfect. It's about returning to the path over again and being better than you were yesterday. You know what I mean? And we've all got that. So we take away this judgment piece and we take away this perfection piece, and we just say, we're all just going to love each other and we're going to love ourselves and we're going to just do better than we did yesterday. That's really that's the commitment, you know, and the community piece brings us all together for this conversation, you know? So that's a beautiful share, man. Thank you so much.
I think if a lot of churches had that same idea, they'd be better off too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, brother.
Be judgmental.
I do. And you know, it's like, it's one thing to say it, but it's another thing to do it. Cause like, you know, Jesus said, come as you are, right?
Yeah.
But do people say that, but are they going to exercise that, and are they going to live through that lens? You know, that's
exactly.
It's another story. Yeah. So beautiful, man. Thank you. So the final piece is the leadership piece. And I think this also, I think this is a good conversation point for us here as well, David, is this leadership piece. So for me, beyond the commitment that I have to myself and this community, beyond the accountability that comes, you know, through my work and through the accountability that we get here in the community, and maybe the accountability that we get through the challenge or through the Liberation Boot Camp, you know, and the community. The final piece for me, I began to see this as I kind of moved into a leadership position within the community and began taking on a leadership role, was like, leadership to me is the final piece that really helps provide like this lasting component of commitment, of accountability, of community. Because if you stay tapped into the community and you look back and you help the next brother behind you, and you look back at the next brother beside you, and you kind of stay tapped into the conversation, you stay helping the next guy along, it literally just holds you to a higher level of living and a higher degree of accountability.
Exactly.
And David, I know like you're constantly in the group, you're constantly working with the other brothers and sharing your feedback and your comments, and you're encouraging the brothers, and you show up here on this conversation today, and you come back to the accountability challenge. I feel like there's a piece of us that says, if I'm going to show up and I'm going to talk the talk, well, then I need to walk the walk as well. And this piece of leadership not only grows us on our own path, but it just holds us to a higher degree of accountability and helps the next guy coming down the path.
Right. Exactly. I agree.
Yeah, I found that in my journey, like as I continued to move along and, I began to move into like ministry roles and I was doing work in the prisons and in the hospitals, like that became increasingly evident to me that like I had to be in integrity, as I call it, outside of my work in the same way I was inside of my work. I didn't want any secrets outside of work. I don't want to be living a double life. I don't want to be hiding anything. Another part of the Noble Code is nothing to hide, nothing to prove. But we don't have anything to hide, and we know that I can look you in the eyes honestly, and I don't have any dark secrets. It's just a powerful way to live. So stepping into leadership, I think, calls you to that, and it's a piece, I think, that really provides the lasting, the lasting kind of component to all this, because you can stay connected to this community forever. You can stay in leadership forever. You can stay in service forever, and always kind of stay tapped into that commitment, accountability, and community.
Yep.
Yep.
That was a little bit back again to being a teacher. I taught in the school district that I graduated from.
Mm-hmm.
If I walked out the back front door of the house, I could see the schoolhouse sitting up there.
Yeah.
And we live in an awfully small community. So, being a school teacher of third graders in a small community where everybody knows your name, everybody knows what you're doing, everybody knows the leadership is probably pretty significant, as opposed to being a teacher, say, in Harrisburg, where none of your kids know where you live, maybe.
Right.
Everybody knew where I live. So
yeah.
if I wasn't willing to walk the walk that I was talking at school,
Yes.
then you're a fake.
Amen. Yeah. Yeah. And I think being out of integrity or not being congruent or living like being a fake, I feel like that's too tough on the soul, man. You can't do that too long. I think that does internal damage, It feels a lot better just to be honest and transparent. So
Exactly.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks so much for that contribution there. So that's really it, gentlemen. That's the freedom framework. Those are the kind of the 9 pieces or so that we have identified within our work here in the Making Peace with Porn community. The philosophy that we work and we integrate into our lives through many different kind of components. Commitment, accountability, awareness, energy, expansion, skills, vision, community, and leadership. And we're constantly working to hone these, to integrate these, and to live these. So that's really it. Again, we've got the Liberation Boot Camp starting up again this Saturday, September 19th. Big shout out to all the gentlemen who did come through the full 10 days of the Abstinence Accountability Challenge. If you are interested in taking maybe some of these seeds, some of these ideas, some of this work that you've done, and carrying this momentum forward into integrating the work fully into your life, so you can take this formula and really have lasting success with this and get porn behind you for good. So you don't have to sleep with like, oh, I'm doing okay now, but when's it going to creep back in again? Because that's how it always was with me. Again, we start up on September 19th. There is an investment for the program. We've got, I think, 5 seats remaining. We just had another brother jump in today, and we'd love to have you. We do interview you for the program, make sure you're fit and everything like that. It's a group program plus one-on-one work with me. It's about a 90-day program, 12 weeks, weekly calls plus one-on-one work with me, plus all kind of accountability and support and weekly trainings and everything. So we'd love to have you. We'd love to support you in this work, support you in this journey. David, thank you for being here, brother. Anything else you want to add before we close out today?
I think I'm good. I'm glad I chimed in.
Yeah, I'm really glad. This is the first time we've opened the training up like this to kind of do the interactive Zoom. And I think it was a lot more, much more energy and everything like that. That was really your idea. You kind of mentioned, is there any way we can do this interactively? So that was a great request, and I'm glad we were able to get it together. So thanks for being here, brother.
I belong to a group. I don't have cancer. I don't.
Yeah.
But I've been a men's prostate cancer advocate for like years.
Yeah.
So I belong to this group. It's all men.
Uh-huh.
Women aren't allowed in. It's all men. It can be any type of cancer that, it's not one specific type. And they've opened a Zoom meeting. Well, it keeps getting bigger and bigger because men aren't willing to talk about some of that stuff in front of women. You know what I mean? So I see the success that Zoom meeting had. That's just why I mentioned it.
Yeah,
That's all.
well, it was a great idea, and it was nice to have the interactive piece, and I think it
Yeah.
added to the energy of it. So
Yeah.
cool. Thanks so much for being here, gentlemen. We're honored to have you here as part of this community. If you're not already a member of the main Making Peace with Porn group, get a request over there. We'll get you joined, and we'll continue the dialogue. We'll continue the conversation, and we'll just continue on in this journey. So have a beautiful evening. Making Peace with Porn. We are noble men. Peace and
See ya.
love. Thanks, David. Bye-bye.
Bye.